This podcast has mature language, not intended for underage viewers.
Street cred sports. Street cred sports. I'm crossing over. I'm Euro stepping.
Hello, this is Keenan of Street Cred Sports Training, and welcome to another episode of Time to Ball. This is episode 48. 4 more, and I'll hit that magical number of a year of doing podcasts on YouTube. I want to thank all of you who tune in every week, whether it's whether it's few or many. I appreciate you taking the time. Also, definitely want to thank the ones who comment, and send information and reach out to me about certain topics. It helps. It definitely helps because sometimes I'm, I have things that I want to talk about, and then there's one of those breaking news things, or somebody say, "Hey, man, you need to touch on this." So, I try to hit that as much as I can, and hit those topics and stuff, and get that information out to the people. That's what I am. I'm a man of the people. Well, I hope everybody's doing well. I am. It's warming up a little, and then it cools down a little. Then it warms up a little. Then it cools down a little. Such is life, right? We all hot and cold at some point. Full swing in the Christmas spirit. Your boy got his Christmas tree up. It was almost like I pushed the button, and next thing you know, decorations and the tree and everything are up. It was funny. Just walk, go around the neighborhood and see other people with theirs, and it almost looks like a contest, boy. They're like, "Oh yeah, well watch this," and then they got all these other extravagant things up. So I'm enjoying, the festivities. I'm a little bit more Christmassy this year than what I have been for some reason. Okay, I'm all about equality. This is just a little off topic subject right now. I'm all about equality, right? I want everything equal and fair. But you ever see the Hershey's commercial where it does the jingle bells? We wish you a Merry Christmas, and it's the actual Hershey's Kisses, and then they do it, dun 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 dun, so they do it for the whole thing, and then it's the actual Hershey's, and then the little Hershey's thing that sticks out of the candy, like wipes his forehead, like whew, right? I've always loved that commercial. Now, why am I saying that? Because I was tricked, man. One time the commercial came on last season, and when it came on, I was excited to look at it. No matter how many times it comes on, I'll look at it. And then it went to another type of like a jazz kind of "We Wish You a Merry Christmas," and I was like, man, I don't want to see that. Don't show me that. So then the whole year, the whole Christmas season, I think they got a lot of backlash because for a while, that was the only part that they showed. Then towards getting close to Christmas, they were showing both, right? So I was like, okay, yeah, y'all can have that one. I like this one. This is the one I love. So that's the one that's been coming on every time. I think I've seen the other one. It was a little different variation, but sometimes don't be trying to change stuff, man. Leave some of that stuff the same, man. Some of that stuff, you gotta like it, right? So that's just my Christmas cheer. All the Hallmark, it's like the Lifetime and Hallmark. Like, man, where did they get all these ideas for these Christmas movies on Hallmark? Like, you could watch like 5 a day for a whole year. That's how many they be having. So, hopefully y'all are, enjoying this time, not the weather, but unless some people love it to be cold and snow. My youngin', he loves the snow, so I might have to import some snow in here, or just tell him to sleep with his window open while the rest of the house is at 98 degrees. So look, let me get on to this and get on to some things that interest me and on my mind. Okay, first thing I want to talk about is the college football playoffs, right? We finally got the 4 that are going to be playing and competing for the national championship. This is the Final 4, and it's Michigan is the first seed, Washington's the second seed. Texas is the third seed, and Alabama's the fourth seed. Now, there's a lot of controversy on it simply because of Florida State being left out, although they were undefeated and won their conference championship. Now, there's outrage about it, and I know and I understand, and I get both points, right? First of all, there are 5 power conferences, right? ACC, SEC, Big 12, Big 10, Pac-12. Now, Pac-12 is going to be gone, but it was always 5 conferences. You only had 4 spots. So every year you could have chaos if you had one undefeated team from each conference to win their championship. Somebody was going to be left out. Now, the argument with FSU, you had people talking about, the eye test that FSU wasn't, looking like they were going to be able to score points and stuff. So I get all of that. People need to understand college sports is a business. That's all it is. It's a business. They don't care about your feelings, man. Okay, excuse me, mama. College football is like, fuck your feelings. All we care about is that loot. We just want that money. And we know that if we put FSU in, who doesn't have their starting quarterback, who unfortunately got hurt, the ratings will probably go down, right? They need ratings. Now, I heard somebody say, well, they're already paid. Yeah, no. Some people might be paid, but them stadiums, those restaurants and all of that, they're not paid. They didn't get a check. They don't get a check until these teams come in and fill up the restaurants and shops and stuff. So there's money to be made. And yeah, okay, some people say it's not about money. It's about the 4 best teams. Florida State travels. They've always been a big-time program. So they would have traveled. The other side of the coin was you want to see the 4 best teams. And I would say, you would see the 4 best teams. Point is, somebody was going to be unhappy. I think Florida State should have been in because they didn't lose. Even though they lost their quarterback, they finished the last 2 games with a second-string quarterback and then a third-string quarterback, and they still won, right? So my picture is this. Put the criteria out there and stand on the criteria. But the problem with some of these committees is they leave shit ambiguous. Oh, okay, all right, there where it is, ambiguous. They leave it to where you're not sure, and they can always switch the reason, right? There's never any one reason, and there probably shouldn't be. But you can't say undefeated Power 5 conference champion is going to be in, and then say, well, we want the 4 best teams. It doesn't. It should be one and the same, right? And then the argument is Alabama beat Georgia, so they should be in. Well, Texas won theirs, and they beat Alabama, so they should be in. And then you hear them say stuff like, well, towards the beginning of the season, it wasn't, teams were still filling out what they're saying. So if that's the case, then Texas's win over Alabama don't mean as much, right? It's kind of how you play towards the end of the season. I think if the committee would have not taken Florida State out of the top 4 after their last game, not the championship game, but the game before the championship, the regular season. After that game, they move them to 5. Now you understand why they move them to 5. Okay, it doesn't make sense, but you can understand it, right? It makes what they were going to do on Sunday a little bit more reasonable. But you leave them in there like they're going to be in there, and then all of a sudden, it's like you've been dating this girl and stuff, and she really digs you, and then she shows up at the party, and you said you was going to be at home, and now you there, and you with another girl. Or, vice versa. A dude shows up, and it's the girl. I don't want to put it on the fellas all the time, but you get my point, right? All of a sudden, there's chaos. People upset, right? And I have a little funny, news article when for the bonus content about this. But It's a business, right? And you have to understand that. Now, they're going to a 12-team playoff starting next year. It should have been this year, but some of those teams, some of those conferences didn't want to do it, and it's biting them in the butt. They would have been able to have 2 or 3 teams for their conference if they went 12 teams. And you hear people, oh, well, you're still going to have people upset about this and that. Not as much. You don't have as many people upset in the tournament, and you know it's all incentive and money based. If they get to the tournament, they get money, they get this and this. It looks good for the program. It's selling points. I get all of that. But, win your games. In college basketball, at the end of the season, if you 14 and 15 or you 17 and 11, you can complain, but you really don't have much to complain on when you start looking at your losses and the fact that your record isn't that good. You're barely above 500. In football, you don't have as many games, so you're probably going to have the 13 and 14 teams saying, well, we should have been in, but not like what this is. And this should have been like this like decades ago, because the whole way they were doing the BCS and stuff, man, that shit was just all about money. You picking and you got other people. And here's why the biggest complaint I have with this is, look, in professional sports, you don't have that. You play your division. If you win your division, if you have the best record, they have the formula, algorithms, top, you go against each other and everything. And now, boom, you find out who makes the playoffs. The one time that there was a problem was Seattle, back in, was it early 2000s, I think. Seattle ended up with a below 500 record, but they won their division. So they were the winner of the division and they hosted the playoffs. People were saying, well, they shouldn't be able to host the playoffs. Those little things can, you can go, but if you win your division, you should be in. So you don't hear teams at the end of the season, saying, oh, well, I think they got it wrong. We should have been a playoff team. We won our last 6 games, so we should be in the playoffs. Yeah, you got hot, but you didn't take care of business the first 6. Every game's important. So take care of your business, and you're in the playoffs, and there's nobody that gets to tell you that you're in or not. That's kind of the way I feel like college football should go, and college basketball. Now I know it's so many more teams, Kay. It's so many more teams. So with it being so many more teams, of course you have to figure out a way. It can be done. It can be done. It's absolutely can be done. You just put them like you're doing a pool play thing. You put them in little categories, and whoever wins that, they're automatically in. You're going to take 24 teams or whatever, top 24, the whatever conferences and stuff. You got to be part of this, whether it's top Power 5 or maybe it's some of the mid-majors or whatever it is. You do it, and you're in. Okay? So there are different ways to do it. They don't want to. But I think I don't need to worry about it now because it's 12 teams now, right? So we'll see how it plays out. I kind of hope Michigan, I'm pulling for Michigan this year. I don't know why, but I kind of hope Michigan and Washington end up in the playoffs, in the championship, because then people will be talking bad about the committee's decision to put Texas and Alabama in, but it's funny. Going into that, the one thing that really bothers me is when you have these coaches politicking and whining about deserving to be in the playoffs. I know there's money tied to it. I know Nick Saban, I think he gets a $800,000 bonus if he gets to the college football playoffs or he wins it, something like that. I think I saw Steve Sarkisian gets $300,000 bonus, and I believe it's either if he gets there or if he wins it. So I get that there's money tied, but speak on your damn record, man. I mean, you don't have to speak on your record. Your play should show for itself. If you don't lose a game, you don't have nothing to worry about. Well, actually, you do if you're FSU. You shouldn't. But, Nick Saban, I think we should be in. Then the Georgia coach, hey, well, win or lose, I think both of us should be in. Come on, man, stop whining. Just play. we're not looking at the pros. We're not looking at let me give an example. We're not looking at Pete Carroll saying, well, hey, we played these teams close, we beat these teams early in the season, I think we should be in the playoffs. No, it's you better win your division, or you better be in the top half. You better be the second best team in your division with a better record than the other second teams in the other three divisions. That's how you make it. If not, you're gonna be sitting at home with everybody else. So I really hate the whining. Yo, just ball. Don't be trying to complain about what's not happening. Just do what you can do. Okay, last thing I want to talk about real quick is we have to, in the NBA, we have to start to come into grips that there's a new wave of NBA teams, right? The days of looking at it and saying, LeBron's team is whoever LeBron is on, you can pencil them into the championship. Oh, Golden State, they're going to be there. You got Kevin Durant with Kyrie, they're going to be there. These super teams. These young teams can play. Houston is competing. Will they make the playoffs this year? They're starting to kind of plateau a little. Some of these other teams are really starting to round into form. But there's no night off when you play Houston. OKC is ascending. OKC's going to be a problem. You got Sacramento, who was one of the top teams last year, and this year they look, they're still babies. They're still kind of growing. You got OKC. Denver has really started to be a really great team this year. You have the Clippers, the Lakers. So you have a lot of teams that are good, right? But you're not seeing the dominance that you would think. Lakers get blowed out by 44 one game, win their next game, right? You got Orlando, who's really doing well in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, Milwaukee's doing great. Boston's doing great. Philly's ascending. So you have some of these younger teams that are really starting to show, where they're at, and it's a lot of jockeying for position. I think this is going to probably be one of the most competitive seasons in the NBA, simply because you have so many good teams. I mean, the Knicks are always going to be there. Indiana Pacers, they are looking really good. You got Cleveland Cavaliers, the Nets. Those two teams, they're going to play hard, and they're looking good. So they're good young teams. Then if we go to Western Conference, you got Timberwolves this year. They lead the conference in the Western Conference, and they're looking good. Now, I still have questions because as you start to play against them and spread them out, Gobert is a concern outside the paint guarding guards, and I don't know if those other guys are going to be strong enough to help him like he helps them. We'll see. There's certain teams they don't match up well with because of that. Other teams, they're able to use their size. So Mavericks are looking really good. The Pelicans are looking excellent as far as how they're playing. So you got all of these young teams, and you figure that the Grizzlies and the Trailblazers, they're young. You got Grizzlies. Ja's not going to be back for a few more games. Probably about 5 more games, and then he'll be back. But they're like 6-14, I think. Yeah, 6-14. So, it's gonna be, they're gonna have to go on a monumental winning streak to even get back in the thought of playing. So, a lot of these younger teams are looking really good. It's really competitive. We're kind of starting to usher out the old dominant teams. The teams that were had the star powers. They're still playing, but you don't look at them on the schedule now and say, "Oh man, we gotta play the Suns. We're gonna lose." No, it's we can play the Suns. We can beat the Suns. We can beat the Warriors. Last night, Trailblazers lost to them. They were up most of the game, made some costly mistakes. Golden State got benefit of some shots, some plays at the end. They ended up winning. I think by one or two or four, 4 or 5 because Steph hit a three at almost at like 6 or 7 seconds. So but they're there. Trailblazers are there. They're not there as far as in the standings, but I could see them, getting on a 5 or 10 game winning streak if the circumstances are right. But all in all, I think it's competitive, and now we need to look at, starting to pass the torch to some of these younger teams because I think they're going to start to be the new dominant teams in the NBA. All right, so this isn't a rant. It's not a rant. This is more like information as an evaluator because, as some of you know, I'm an evaluator now. Right now, I hadn't put in all the paperwork to do all of that. I don't know if I want to do that because I'm not, trying to do certain things. I'm just trying to be able to help the citizens, the young citizens of the city of El Paso when it comes to being recognized and saying, hey, this kid can play and stuff like that. So maybe I'll do it because I don't like to half do anything. So maybe I'll, make sure I go through the proper channels, and then I can say I'm an official NCAA evaluator or scout or whatever that means. But I was asked because, I'll be doing a tournament this weekend. It's the Jamboree. I think it's West. God, that's a shame that I'm doing an event and I don't even know what the hell the event is that I'm doing the name of it. That's bad. That's bad. No, but I'm doing it's the West Texas Holiday Jamboree Classic. Okay, and it's for ages. I believe it's ages or grades 5 through 7, 5 through 8. So I'm still new, got a lot of stuff going on, but they are putting on an event and they asked me to scout it again. I scouted their event they had prior to the beginning of the basketball season. It was really good. They're doing a really good job. So shout out to them, and I'm happy that they asked me to be a part of it. So I'll be there. Now, question is, what are you looking for when you're evaluating? What is it that you're watching for? Or you just watching, like, come on, my kid, scores a lot of points. Well, everybody scores points on the college level. Everybody can score. So, unless you're going to a team where they just need a score and you're one of the top scorers in the nation, yeah, it means something. But otherwise, if people who evaluate, they don't just look at how many shots you score, how many points you score. I mean, you could be scoring 25 a game, but you turn around and you're putting up 30 shots a game. That's not really efficient. You're a volume shooter. Okay, so you have to be able and understand that there's more to playing basketball. So when I'm evaluating, I can't speak about anybody else, but when I'm evaluating, I'm watching everything. For guards. For everybody, really, I'm looking to see how they play defense. They're communicating. How's their help side defense and everything? How's their on-ball defense? Are they constantly reaching? Are they using their feet? How smart are they when they're playing defense? For guards, usually everybody, but mainly the guards, I'm looking at their handles. I'm looking at how well they handle the ball and how much command they have with the ball when they're handling it. Versus people who just, they dribble the ball and they can protect the ball. To me, handles and dribbling are two different things. I've explained that before, so I can go through it in another time, but not now. Energy, their energy. Now, energy, if you have energy and you play with energy, you can get seen anywhere. That's it. You can be an energy guy, aggressive, energetic, running the floor, playing both sides. You might score 4 points a game, but you're affecting the game in so many different ways. I think energy is probably one of the biggest things that I hear college coaches and scouts speak on when they're talking about, what they're looking for. And I agree with it. because it shows. It shows up in ways that you can't really, put a metric on per se. You might can't put your thumb on it, but you can tell. Court awareness. How smart are you? How's your ball IQ? Are you making really bad decisions over and over and over again? Look, everybody makes a bad decision, and that's part of playing sports, right? What you don't want to do is you don't want to do the same thing over and over, because if you do the same thing over and over, you're obviously not learning from whatever it is that you were, trying to accomplish in the first place, your mistakes. Because in college, so in college, everybody can score. Like what I was saying, so scoring is good. Are you efficient when you score, or are you a volume shooter? I really feel like if you're going to be special in some area, you need to be special. So I give an example. Everybody can shoot the three now, right? Well, not everybody. Everybody thinks they can shoot the three, but everybody shoots more threes at a higher clip now because that's kind of the way the game is going, and everybody wants to be a three-point specialist. If you are a three-point specialist, my advice would be you need to be probably at 40% at least, okay? Now, here's the thing about being a three-point specialist. Anytime you're in the game, you can't be less than 40%. If that's what you are, that's what you should be. It shouldn't take you too long. So if you come in and you're a three-point specialist and you miss your first 3 or 4 shots, you're not doing what you were picked to do. And if you can't do anything else but that, meaning your defense struggles, you can't handle the ball, you're kind of one of those, well, this is all this person can do. So if you're not making your shots, then guess what? You got to sit on the bench, because we can get somebody in here who shoots 30% from the three and actually makes one out of 3 when they shoot, but then they can handle the ball, defend, and rebound, and all these other things. So they have other things. So why am I saying this? Yeah, absolutely. If you're a rebounding, monster, you can be a rebounding monster. If you're a defensive, defensive juggernaut, I'm trying to think of another word, but if that's you, if you're that guy or that girl defensively, then you can, get in games because of that, right? If you're going to be this scoring person and you're having trouble scoring, and that's what you're known for, you're going to find yourself in trouble. So you need to be able to do more than one thing. Because if I evaluate you, I might say, yeah, you know what? Hey, he can put up buckets. But if I'm not really saying much else about what you're doing, can shoot the ball well, plays defense at a high level, rebounds well, attacks the rim, gets others involved. See, that's a lot of different things that college coaches and other people can draw from that. But if I just say, yo, he just shot lights out, and they recruit you on shooting lights out, you better keep shooting them, because if you don't, you're going to have problems. So, that's what I'm looking for as an evaluator. I want to just make sure that people understand that. And I take it serious. I feel bad sometimes because when I have evaluated things, people I know are, hey, how you been? They want to come and see you and talk. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? Like, look, I'm doing this right now. I need to give this the attention it deserves, because that's what they they asked me to come over here and do. And, according to some of my brethren in the college ranks and in scouting ranks, I'm doing a very good job. So I'm excited about the future to add this to what we're doing as an organization. And it's not easy. I mean, the evaluating part is easy. You can evaluate, but if you put it like this, your career as an evaluator can begin or end with somebody that you put out there. That you say, oh, this kid can play. And then that kid gets in a situation where they're having to play against real competition and they can't, your word's not going to mean as much as you think. But if you put out information about a person that you say can play, and this kid can ball out, you know, people are going to start to respect what you say, and they'll be trying to get your input on some people. I have a long list of kids that I've put out there that I've said that could play, and they could always play. So I didn't really think about it until I got into this space. But yeah, I feel like, and I'm not saying nobody can do it. That's not what I'm saying. I just, others tend to be, a little bit better at evaluating and visualizing. I think the advantage I have in some of the good ones is when if you've played against really good competition, NBA, college, level players, you tend to understand what a person can be. Somebody once said, well, how do you know if a kid can play college? And my response is if you put that kid in a situation where he or she is playing against college ready players that everybody know, and this kid holds their own and they don't take too much of a dip in what they do, you pretty much know that they're a college ready player. You can't say a person's a college ready player if they are dominant against lesser competition. But when you play against kids that are just as good, if not better, your production drops tremendously. Your production is going to drop some, unless you're that special person. There's always a little drop off just because you don't dominate the ball as much. You might not get as many shots. Defenders are a lot better. You have to really go deep into what you're trying to do to get your shots because it's a higher level of play. But you don't lose much. So you can tell, and I've always said when you get really good players on the floor, it's like a symphony or ballet. It's just so beautiful to watch when you have everybody on the floor can ball. Nobody's on there because they're really big and they set good screens, but they can't do anything else. They can't run up and down the floor. So it's really good to be in this space, to start it. And I got some things coming up. I just, I'll be announcing them either on here or on my other platforms. But there are some things coming up in the next few weeks to a month. So get ready. All right. So now I'm going to get into my basketball ideology. Okay. So I've had this discussion. I actually had this discussion with a high school coach recently, and there wasn't like arguing. Like, sometimes you have a discussion and it's like, nah, man, that ain't gonna work. Or, that. And I love those kind of conversations. If I can have a conversation with somebody and we don't agree on something, it's okay. It's okay to disagree. I might see it one way, this person might see it another way. Doesn't mean we're gonna stop talking to each other because of it. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means we don't see eye to eye on it. And that's fine. That's fine. But we were in agreement with this conversation. Now, what I was talking about was, I feel, and this is my personal opinion, and if you're a coach and you listen to this and you kind of think about it, I feel like this is something that can really help you in your program, okay? And I've spoken on it, but I'm going to go just a little bit more in depth. I think coaches, pretty much on any level, really, if you look at it, on any level, I think coaches should talk to players at the beginning of the season and tell them what category they're in. Well, what do you mean category? You're on the team? Yeah, no. I've looked at it. I've dissected it. You can use different terms. You can say maybe there are 4 categories. I'm going to use 3. Okay. The 3 categories that I put players in is your main group of players. Okay. So your main group of players are the players, that's your pretty much your rotation. The guys or girls that you are going to play heavily and you're going to rely on, right? Doesn't always matter, because here's something that parents will get upset with, and sometimes I agree with them. Sometimes when they say, well, my kid makes a mistake and they take them out. This kid makes a mistake and they stay in, and I try to tell them, look, that kid plays more aggressively. That's an aggressive mistake. Your kid makes timid mistakes. Plus, that coach trusts that player in certain situations. Your kid might has not gained that trust. You have to be able to perform in pressure situations to gain that trust. If we can fix that and limit those mistakes, then you can possibly be that. But the main group of players is, I'm not going to say, oh, it's the starting five. I'm just talking about your main rotational players, whether it's 6, 7, 8 players, however many it is. This is the rotation. This is your main group. These are the guys that are going to play 95% of the minutes, right? Okay. Then you have your subs. Now, subs could be your six or 7 men, or it could be the guys that, okay, so I'll give you an example. Let's say you got a 12-man roster, okay? So his main group would probably be 1 through 7. Let's say 1 through 7. This is a hypothetical. 1 through 7, that's his rotation, right? That's his main group. His subs would be players maybe 8 and 9, okay? 8 and 9. Right? Or 8, 9, and 10. We'll just say 8 and 9. 8 and 9 are the subs. Now, those players are going to play, but it's going to be mainly circumstances. If they're in deep foul trouble early on, somebody gets hurt, these kids can be ready to step in. If it's blowouts, they might get a little bit more playing time. But this is kind of what they're going to do. They're going to help the main group, but their minutes aren't going to be as big, spot minutes, okay? Then you got your practice players. Your practice players in this instance would be 10, 11, and 12, okay? So 10, 11, and 12, their main objective is to just be good in practice, push the regular players, and enjoy the experience and stuff. Now, do they play? The only time you might see those players in the game is if there's a blowout, right? If there's a blowout either way, they're going to, more than likely you're going to see them play some minutes in a game. Or if maybe they're seniors, and it's their last game, they might start. Some coaches do that. They'll start their seniors for, first 2 to 3 minutes and then bring them out just to recognize that they're seniors. But you can have practice players. Now, you'll hear people say, well, that's not right. No, that's how basketball hierarchy and sports hierarchy goes. There are a ton of players that just want to be on the team. They don't care about being the best player on the team. Here's a secret that parents who've never played sports, especially at a high level, don't understand. Your child usually knows when they get in that first day of practice against other players, they usually know that if they're a practice player or not. They're like, okay, yeah, I'm probably not gonna get minutes because I can't beat this person out. I got 6 people in front of me that are good. Then I got other guys that I could be better at one day and the next. I have trouble doing this. People know. So I don't want to hear that, he or she thinks that they're better. When you watch practice, you get in the gym against that person, you like, okay, yeah, nah, this person is different. This person can go, right? So when you have this conversation and you sit your players down, and I would suggest do it as a team, because as a team you're gonna let these things know. Now, if you feel like you need to pull some of these guys apart and separate them, kind of like they do on American Idol. I always thought that was funny when American Idol would go, and at the end they get like it's like 90 people or something, and then they separate them, and they put like 30 in one room, 30 in another room, and 30 in the third room, right? And then you kind of walking in that room, and you walk in with somebody, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, no, they did really good. They could sing. We must going in, right? We're going to be picked. Then you got the other people walking in like, oh shit, man, that dude can't sing worth the damn, I must be going home, right? You already know. And then they come in and then they give you the speech and then they tell you, hey, you didn't make it or you're going to the next round, right? So that's kind of what you could do, but you're not doing it to tell somebody that they're not on the team. You're kind of just letting them know, like, look, this is where we need you. It's important to have practice players. It's important to be part of the team. Now, if you can't accept being a practice player, then you need to get better. If you can't accept being a role player, then you need to get better. Now, this is pretty much across the board. You have situations where some coaches, and I've seen it, they have blinders. They're only, like I've seen coaches that only play 5 players. They won't sub, right? And it doesn't make sense because you're hurting your team. Those 5 players nobody is conditioned to play the whole entire game without getting tired, unless you start to rest on the court. And if you're resting on defense, that's a bad thing. If you're resting on offense, that's a bad thing. So if you're tired, you need to come out. Doesn't mean you need to come out for a long stretch, but you need to come out, get maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then get back in the game, catch your win, right? If it was just about having 5 players, then you wouldn't have teams where you had 12 to 15. So I really feel that coaches should talk to the players at the beginning of the season. Tell them what category they're in and how they're going to help the team. Look, once you have that discussion, they have to make a decision. If they don't like their role, they're either going to have to show you that they can be a higher up on there, accept it, or not be on the team. But I feel, this is me, I feel like if you have that discussion at the beginning of the year with the players, you don't have to have a discussion with the parents. Let the players tell the parents. And have them, hey, look, don't go home and tell your parents, coach just want to play them, so I'm not going to get no playing time. Because if your parents come back up here and they're yelling and screaming and want to have a meeting about what we talked, I'm gonna film their next practice, or I'm going to let them sit in their next practice, and they're going to see how bad you are. And then they're going to be embarrassed because you brought all this shit on them going home lying. Be truthful. Go home, tell you know what, Mom, no, such, I'm not there. But I'm okay with it. I'm comfortable, and that's fine. Now, if I don't want to play, I don't want to play. If I want to move to another school, then so be it. Let them go, coach. Sign off on them. Let them go. Don't try to, 365 them. Let them go. If they can get somewhere else and they get better, and they can play, then maybe you made the wrong decision. And sometimes that's going to happen. We're going to make right decisions and wrong decisions. And that's just part of life. So I really strongly feel that, and I've had this discussion with numerous people, and I haven't had pushback. I think some of them get a little uncomfortable, like, maybe, well, okay, it's not that easy, but they all understand it. So it might not be that easy, but my question is, why is it not? At the beginning of the season, you had that discussion. Sometimes things are easy. We just don't always want to do them. Like, I've had situations where it's an easy decision to make, but it's an uncomfortable, and I just really kind of try to avoid doing it, right? But at some point, you got to do it. It is easy sometimes. It's yes or no, good or bad. All right. So, next thing I want to talk about is how to create space. How much space do you need to get your shot off against a defender? This is something that seems to bother players, and it bothers some of the players that I train that are starting to get better at shooting. Right now, they're not. They're understanding, hey, if I'm open, I can shoot. If the defender closes out, I can, pump fake, take 1 or 2 dribbles. And you start to get it on lesser experienced defenders. I'm not going to say dumb, because they're not dumb. They're not as experienced when they're at certain ages. Now, if you're a professional player and you're running out on somebody who can't shoot a 3, and they pump fake you and you jump 16 feet in the air and 20 feet past them, and they get 1 dribble pull, the scouting report, That's not experience. That's the first thing I just said. So, what I mean by this is as you start to play against more experienced players, you might get them up on the pump fake or the jab, and as you take one or two dribbles, they're kind of there with you, right? And they go up to kind of contest the shot. So a lot of kids that I train are uncomfortable when I do this drill with them because it freaks them out. And I tell them, you have to be comfortable getting your shot off. You're not going to have as much true pull-up jump shot players. Know and understand, you're not going to have 6 feet or 3 feet when you shoot. You're going to have people's hand contesting to where as you're getting that ball off, their hand is touching your hand. They're literally like centimeters away from affecting the ball. When you slow down guys who do, mainly on the dribble and sometimes catch and shoot if they're closing out good and they have their system down, you slow it down when they're letting their ball go, and you're almost asking yourself like, man, I thought it looks like they should have got that, right? So you have to understand that you're not going to have much room. I would say you only need daylight. That's what I used to feel like. I just need daylight. If I can get to my spot and, get up faster than, get into my shot faster than the defenders getting their hand up. If I'm going up in my shooting motion and their hand is not there yet, I'm getting that shot off, right? And I've learned, I mean, back then, I don't want to say like I'm still playing, but back then I had to learn different ways to get my shot off. I had to get it up quicker. I had to create a little bit more space. But I had to understand that no matter what move I could do, no matter how much I dazzled with the ball, this defender who's 6'4" or 6'5" on me is going to be able to close that gap. So once you put yourself in that position to do this, when I do this drill with these kids, they start to say, hey, you know what? They were getting their shots up a little bit better. They're more comfortable with somebody being up there on them when they get to shoot. So I say daylight, it's really only inches. You need an inch, maybe a foot of space as you're getting ready to go, because you have to, okay, I'm going to get scientific for y'all. You have to understand the gather time. The time from the moment that the brain on the defender sends a signal to stop, plant, raise your arm, lunge up, right? That takes time. It's not a lot of time. It's like milliseconds, to get this stuff going. That indecision in that defender creates that space. So if you can go 1, 2, and 3 dribble pull up going right and left, unless you do the same move over and over again, you're probably going to have that defender's not going to be able to stop that shot. Then you can add counters to it, obviously, but Kobe, MJ, Durant, a lot of those guys, they have those 1, 2, and 3 dribble pull-ups that they can use all the time, and you rarely saw them get blocked. But they were challenged to where when they were getting that shot off, the defender was right up on their hand. So I would say initial move from the time that you're getting ready to go up, you need probably to gain maybe 1.5 feet on that defender. So that gives you enough time to when you're rising up to shoot, that defender, whether they're the same height, or I think if their defender's taller, you might try to have a little bit more space or a little bit more, gather time to be able to get that shot off. Now, what makes a shooter uncomfortable is if you're right-hand shooter and you're going left to pull up, you have to create a little bit of space and get that defender off of you, because if they're challenging your shot, they're on your right side. When you go to your right, I'm sorry. Did I say right first? When you go to your left, it's harder. When you drive right to pull up and shoot, it's a lot easier. I'm not saying you don't get your shot blocked, but it's a lot easier because that defender now has to go through your body from your left to your right to challenge the shot. So you're going to see a lot of jump shooters get their shot off probably a little bit easier going to their right. They don't have to have maybe as much space to get their shot off. Now, obviously, there are other variations. I'm just saying if the defender is about your height, not too much taller, you should be able to get that shot off. If you get a foot, if there's a foot of space in between you and the defender as you're getting ready to go up, you should be able to get that shot off. So that's probably how much space I would say. It will vary. It varies with what type of shooter you are. If you're a type of shooter who jumps high and then shoot, you feel like you can get your shot off for anybody, but you got to understand the time that it's taking you. You're getting already your pinnacle. Now, people who shoot faster, shooting going up, their shots, I think, tend to not get blocked as much unless the defender is taller. So I can delve and talk about that all day, but we won't do it. All right, so last thing I'm going to touch into, I hope that helps with the space and stuff. Last thing I'm going to touch on is teaching kids how to run and move their arms using those fast twitch muscles. Excuse me. It's a thing, y'all. It is a thing. There are a lot of people who don't know how to run, who don't know how to jump, like as far as the elements, the mechanics of jumping properly. So you have to move your arms when you run. That's how you accelerate. Your arms are so important when you're jumping or when you're running. Like you have somebody to run and they're not using their arms, then you have them to run and use their arms, you'll see a noticeable difference. You'll see that they're a little bit faster. So when you're running and when you're jumping, you must move your arms. I had a kid, excuse me, recently who he didn't know how to use his arms when he was running. So I was trying to teach him, and it was fun and challenging to me. I never get frustrated when I'm trying to teach a kid something. It's a challenge, and I accept it because I have to figure out how to help them, right? Like if I can't help them, then why are they paying to come over here? So I love those challenges. I love when it's something new that it's like, well, because it also gives me different ways. Like I have, I don't want to make it sound like a computer, but I have a vast knowledge or a vault of information, and it's stuff that I remember from different kids, different times where I had to help this situation and that situation was new. So, I pull on that. And then there are times where it's like, you know what, I'm pulling on this information in this way and it's not working the way I thought. So now I'm going to have to, pull on something else, or I'm just going to have to create a new way for them because everybody learns different. And I had to literally sit up there with the kid and show him how the arms are supposed to move. And, he struggled at first. He started to get better, and I have a different way of helping him. And towards the end of that training, he looked a lot better. Is it where he's going to look? No. It was a lot better than what he looked when he first started. So this just goes out to people to understand, like, you have to have the mechanics to do certain things sports-wise, right? You jump. If you're playing basketball and you're jumping and you're not jumping with your arms, you're not going to get a lot of rebounds. That's just going to be hard to do. So teaching them the fast twitch muscles. What else? Okay, well, I don't want to get too scientific. The fast twitch muscles are your reactionary muscles, right? This is kind of what was the way it was explained to me and kind of how I understand it. It's how fast you go from 1 to 2 when you're jumping, when you're picking up your leg, when you're running, when you're swinging your arms, right? If you're a boxer, you better have fast reflexes and fast twitch muscles, because if you throw a punch and that punch takes forever to get back and reset and go back out, you're going to get knocked out a lot. So it's the ability to do something rapidly. So if you jump, here's the scenario I give you. If you jump, right? Let's say you jump to shoot a layup. You go off 2 feet. You go up to shoot a layup. You miss it. The fast twitch muscles come in where you land and go right back up. The quicker you can go right back up, the faster you get there, the more likely you are to get that shot, right? That's kind of an example, I guess I would use. But yeah, fast twitch muscles are something that we do work with when we're using our Vertimax machine, and that's what I put them on. Shout out to Vertimax. I put them on Vertimax, and it really helped them. It has helped anybody and everybody that I've utilized it with becoming faster in those twitch muscles. So it's a process. It's a process, and I wish I could have recorded it. I know I'm bad on it, and sometimes it's like, man, I should record this and then show the kid, a week or two from now doing the same thing, so they could see like the vast improvement. I see it. I have a vast vault of memories. No, I remember it when I'm working and how it looks. So it's really enjoyable and fascinating to see how they grow. But yeah, when you're running, you got to use your arms, because if you don't use your arms, as I told the kid, all right, well, if it's a zombie apocalypse, and I'm talking about Dawn of the Dead zombies, the fast ones, I'm not talking about the slow ones that walk and crawl. I'm talking about the ones that's coming after you. If we watching a zombie movie, not if we're watching a zombie movie, but if we're running from zombies and I'm using my arms and you're not, yeah, they're going to get you. They're going to get you. They're going to get you, and they're going to get you, and I'm going to be sad for you because they got you, but I'm going to be crying saying, you should have used your arms, but it's just a zombie thing. Anybody who knows me knows how I feel about zombie movies. But that's going to be all for today. We will have bonus content. And on bonus content, I'm going to talk about a senator from Florida who's upset with the college football playoffs and what he's what he's going to do about it. And I'm going to talk about basketball ideology, performing when you're not the most dominant player. So with all of that being said, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. I do have, some things that I'm looking at doing to enhance the experience. So hopefully in the next, month or so, we'll be able to get to it. So for now, I'm going to end like I always do. And I'm going to say, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. I'm out.
Street cred sports, say it with your chest. Yeah. Go get it from the net. Street cred sports, okay, that's a bet.